think about it. Think how far you've come just in those 14 weeks and what you know now that you didn't know before and how you can use tools and just the knowledge you have. Here we go. One, two, three, Friday!
This is the shiplap. This is what we put on once we're pretty close to finish with the homes. It goes on after we put these pieces of trim on, and we put our trim around the roof, and then we put our Z-metal, and then this is the shiplap. It's what goes on the top portion of the house, and then afterwards we'll be putting the corrugated steel from this bottom half. But today we'll be focusing on the shiplap. And when you're doing the shiplap, you have to make sure that your measurements are pretty precise, because you do not want large gaps here. Like if you see right here, there's not very large gaps alongside that. So you'll easily be able to put caulking around it and paint it, and it'll look like there's not even a space. But if there's too big of a space, then it's a little harder to cover. And sometimes you just want to pull that piece down and put a tighter fitting piece. I'm just gonna do these smaller pieces, and
so what are you doing here?
Right here I'm just measuring out my pieces. I know my pieces of shiplap are, the largest pieces are 10 foot, but I wanna fill in these smaller pieces at first, so I'm gonna use the pieces that have already been cut, and I'm just measuring out how long they need to be. And this one is 33 1/16. But I want to cut it a 16th short, because you don't want it to be too tight of a fit, because if it is, then eventually all wood, it expands and contrasts, and it might eventually start to bulge on the sides and start to like bulge outwards, and you'll start to get like bumps in your shiplap. So you want there to be a little bit of space, but only a 16th to an 1/8 at most. When you're using all wood with your framing, when you're doing the shiplap, anytime you're using wood, you have to take into account that all wood eventually will absorb some type of moisture, and it will expand and contrast. So you want to leave some type of space for that. Not a lot, but a little bit. So I'll mark it right there at 33. Nice thing about these blades is you only have to make a little mark. You don't have to do the whole line. It'll just do it for you. Using this, you want to put some glasses on, because it can throw little pieces of wood, and you do not want that in your eye at all. So then when you're lining this up, I know this is the piece of wood that I want right here. I want to double check. This is my 33 inches. Or no, this is my 33 inches from here. So when I'm cutting this, I want to make sure my cut is on this side. I don't want to cut on this side, because then my piece will be too short. Some people mess that up at first. I was messing that up at first when I was first learning, and a lot of my pieces were coming back just a little too short because where I was cutting. And as you can see, the blade actually makes a line right where it's going to come down. So then you want to let that stop before you bring it up. Move that piece of wood. I might be able to use it later. Let's go see how this fits. See, and that's what you want to see right there. See how there's like not much, like no play side to side. I can't really wiggle it side to side, but there is a little bit of spacing. So it will have a little bit of space to expand if need be. And then I'll be able to just put caulking over that to cover it up so you won't even see it.
So it's snug, but not so snug that you have to force it in.
Yeah, you do not want to have to force it in. If you're having to force it in, then it's too tight. Most definitely, you want to have to, then you'll have to take a little bit of a blade length off. Because you also don't want to mess up these corners. If you're having to force it in, you can blow out these corners and mess it up. If it starts getting chipped and stuff, then you don't want to use it. Because this is your finishing product. When you're doing stuff like this, your finishing product, like your trim on the outside of your doors and the shiplap and the Z-metal and stuff, you don't want there to be like dents and bangs and scuffs on this type of stuff, because this is the stuff that the customer is going to see. This is the stuff that really makes your work good. Yeah, this is what we need right here. So we need a piece for like right here. So then I'll just size it. You don't want it to wobble. We have this piece right here in the middle, but you really want mainly pieces right here at the end, because when I put this up, I was realizing that there was some like wobble play, but it's not here in the center, but and that's not what you want. You want there to be pieces right here. So I'm gonna fill those in right there. And nail gun was acting weird. I don't know what was up with it. Wasn't shooting. I was trying to put those little pieces to hold in my shiplap, and it wasn't shooting. I like to use the big one for the saw because it helps. It's a little easier to hold the saw with the bigger battery in it, because the saw is, it's located on the top of it, and it just helps kind of keep downward pressure on it. But with this, it's like you put it right here on the bottom, and then it just gets all, it just makes it hurt your hand. It's like a good, I would say, 5 to 10 pounds right there.
Requires more wrist strength?
Yeah, a lot more. I'm not sure where. I think it's in my, other tool bag. Then you can also use the little ones, but then they'll just die fast. Won't shoot right now.
Was it? Show me what were you doing?
Can't get it to shoot.
Yeah.
It's on and everything.
Oh. So sometimes this thing has a little malfunction.
It got like jammed or something?
Yeah, because I noticed when you were pushing, it only went in like that. So now try it. Ah, that's your problem right there, bud. You push it, that gets caught on the lip. So instead of doing that, do it upside down like that. That works too.
Oh, that's what's happening? It's not. Oh, all right. That's what was happening. It wasn't able to, because it has a safety feature where this has to be fully pressed down before the pull of the trigger will actually shoot a nail. So, and I didn't realize that it wasn't, when it's going like that, it's not all the way. But I have to go at an angle sideways because this Z metal that's what happened. So it wasn't the nail gun, it was just me not observing it. I was wondering, I was like, what is the problem with this? That's hilarious. So now it should work with this one. I like these ones a lot better. I was like, I've used this battery on here before. Yeah, there it goes. So now that I have these pieces right here, now, one thing you want to do when you're doing this is you want to keep a level on you. You want to keep your little small torpedo level on you when you're doing these small pieces, and when you're doing larger pieces, you want to keep, we have 4-foot levels. And that's because sometimes the Z metal is not always put on 100% straight. So you see how this is right here? It's just slightly off. And if I were to go all the way up like this, it would make it to where at the top, it would just keep building, building, building. The farther you go up with a small, with it being off level like that, it will just keep growing.
So your base panel being off will affect the rest of them going up right now?
Yes, sir, most definitely. You have to make sure it's nice and sound at the foundation, nice and level. That's how it is in all the building. You want to make sure that your starting point is nice and level, and it will help you so much when you're going up.
It sounds like one of those cases where if you get it right, if you take the time to get it right at the very beginning, everything else will fall into place nicely.
Yes, most definitely. We want to take the time at first to make sure it's nice and right. Then when you're nailing in this shiplap, you want to make sure you're nailing in at this like top inch portion. You don't want to be too high, but you want to be like within like right here, because the next piece will cover it up.
Say that one more time.
When you're nailing, you want to nail within like this first inch right here. You don't want to nail too close to the lip right here because it'll just break it, but you want to nail like right there, because so the next piece, because it comes down an inch, it'll cover it. And then right there, and then yeah, always make sure you're hitting where the studs are. I was gonna say,
How's that looking like?
it's looking nice and level. So then when we put our next piece on, it'll sit on here nice, and then it'll go all the way up nice and level. Put caulking right there, and you won't even be able to really notice because it'll be level all the way up from this point.
Okay.
We got a lot of wood to work from. Yeah, we'll try to use the smallest piece we can use.
Oh, yeah. What about this piece?
This, you don't want that on your finished product. So then we'll just end up having to scrap this board unless we'll be able to cut a smaller piece out of it and see how long it is.
You get presentation right for the customer?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, this piece is too short for us to use, so we'll just have to put it to the side. That other piece of wood, it was long enough, but it was only long enough to make one piece with. With this piece, we'll be able to make two pieces. We'll be able to make two pieces with the same cut. If we cut that one, then we might not be able to use that little piece that's left over for another piece. So we can maybe try to save that and fit that in another area, and then put this right here where we could use two. Because later on, you might not always be working with someone else's materials, especially when you start working with your own materials. You'll definitely be thinking about efficiency because stuff is not free. All right, here, Cassandra, just see how that fits.
Good.
That's good. All right.
That's perfect, actually.
No wiggle room or anything like that?
Tiny, teeny, weeny little bit. Like, I think it's like not even a 16.
I've never done anything like this before, but I've always wanted to be, yeah, like any type of like construction work. I'm only 19, I've always just done school. But my plan is to get some land and build a house, and it'll be a lot more obtainable knowing the knowledge I know now. It's most definitely gonna happen. Right here, I know that there's a stud right here. There's always gonna be a stud right there at the end. And then you have a, you're gonna have a king stud right here, right next to your door. So I know that there's a stud there.
So the studs are gonna be those lines right here that you just marked?
Yeah, those are the lines, because when you're shooting in the shiplap, you want to make sure it's shooting into studs, because you don't want it to just be shooting into the plywood, because the plywood's only a ½ inch thick, and that won't be a lot of strength for it to hold, especially when over a long period of time that ½ inch won't be enough. But when you're shooting it into the studs, it gives it a lot more strength. So you want to make sure that you're marking out those studs when you're doing this. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that it's hooked onto the other piece, because each piece has a little inch lip that goes onto the next piece, and you want to make sure that it's on there properly, or your other pieces won't sit right. On this right side, or I mean on my left side, there was it was slightly out of level. So you can, once it's hooked onto the lips, you can lift it just slightly to get the proper level that you want. Because like I was saying, you want it to be level all the way up. You want it to be leveled all the way up, because if it's not level all the way up, you'll be able to see it. They'll be slanted either this way or that way, or however they're slanted, and you'll see it. Yeah, it's very noticeable once the whole product is finished. But this right here, I didn't make this. This cut could have been a little bit tighter, but that is caulkable. We'll just, because you have to end up putting a bead of caulk down this anyways. So it's a usable piece, but you definitely, I try to have a little something more like that than compared to that. So on the next piece, I'll try to make it a little tighter. Yeah, we've been having 33 all the way up, which means that the framing was good. And now I want 33. I want 33 and a 16th. I want to cut it right there. $100, $141, and $141 and 11/16. Right now we're cutting our next pieces. We finished up right there, and we're gonna have to start making custom cuts all the way up. So then now we want to start doing these pieces. So, is it a nice fit over there? Is it too long? A little too long? All right, we'll just have to take a blade length off. How long? Yeah, or like half a blade. Alrighty. Yeah, so I'll just have to take a little bit off. Alrighty. Yeah, the domino effect is very present when in all aspects of construction, because especially when you're doing this, if you're not making sure that the first ones that you're laying down are nice and level and where they need to be, then every single piece going up will keep just getting a little bit more messed up, a little bit more messed up. And by the time you get up to the top, you'll have a piece that's really messed up, really angled. And that's what happened to us on our last build. So I definitely took that away, and it's definitely, it made me a lot better for the second build.